Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Uh, this is Apparition. Before I start my video, I would just like to point your direction to my fair use notice. Um, Most of the time, I simply reference materials or articles or videos that I see. I don't actually put it, I try not to put those things into my videos, but I reference them to make an argument. I also provide general legal advice for educational purposes. So, so I have a disclaimer for that as well, just so that people know that I'm not intending to give a specific person legal advice. And any materials or any articles that I mention in the video will be linked in the video description below. Thank you. My personal journey to MGTOW. I started this channel mainly because I felt there was not enough content out there to help men who were stuck in loveless, toxic relationships. For these men, their situation is not their fault, because frankly, there is lots of misinformation about the status of men in society and men in heterosexual relationships. The MGTOW community has generated lots of content regarding MGTOW philosophy and female nature. However, there seems to be a lack of practical advice for men who need to actually get out of a relationship or marriage safely. About 2 years ago, I started listening to channels like Sandman and Turd Flinging Monkey, and realized that it was not just me who noticed the big lie we were fed as children. The lie that says you do well in school, get a great job, meet the girl of your dreams, get married with 2 children, a white picket fence, and live happily ever after. This is totally false because feminists screwed it all up. Women these days want it all for nothing and expect to get kudos for poor behavior. Such was the case with the woman who destroyed my life, and unfortunately, I had 2 children with her before I discovered what was going on. After we had our first child, her attitude changed. She started demanding a lot more, wasting money, and being super disrespectful. She eventually started trying to prevent me from seeing my friends, even my guy friends and family. The last straw came when I discovered she had cheated and she was completely unapologetic about it. I swallowed the red pill and she became enraged that I would leave her. So she tried to use all the socialist tools against me. I got totally screwed for going MGTOW, but it had to be done. Screwing with women in a feminist society is very dangerous because, as Howard Dare says, or as he explained in his video, Working Girls on the Weekend, you can try to pump and dump them, but women expect to be wined and dined. And if you fuck it up, it'll blow up in your face. It really blew up in my face. She called the cops, alleged that I had assaulted her, and before you know it, I was in handcuffs going off to jail. Upon release on bail, she made false allegations again, and that I breached the terms of my bail. And before you know it, I'm in jail again, awaiting trial. A year later, all charges against me were dropped due to lack of sufficient evidence. But by then it was too late. The damage was already done. I spent thousands of dollars on legal fees. I lost my job because I was in jail. And what happened to her? Nothing. She lied to the police. They knew it, and nothing was done about it. I spoke to an officer about pressing charges against her, and he told me that the courts frowned on that sort of thing. What sort of thing? I asked. Upholding the law? I spoke to another lawyer about prosecuting the officer who initially pressed charges, and he told me that domestic cases are different from normal cases, quote unquote. The policy is that once an allegation is made, they have to press charges regardless of the probability of the truth in the victim's statement. See my other video, Playing Victim, How Feminists Win Support for Unfair Policy. This is how feminists are changing the game. Our justice system is totally skewed in their favor. We need to fight the system. Please go to my GoFundMe page to help fund my fight against the police in this case. In essence, MGTOW is disengagement from women and gynocentric institutions, self-improvement and autonomy and emancipation, not hatred of women. I don't care what women do, and MGTOW don't care either. The world is more democratized than ever before in history, yet men, as a group, are less free than ever before. We are increasingly becoming monitored by gynocentric governments. Our wealth is consistently taken away and appropriated based on an agenda most men don't even support. The solution is for us to take back our independence. So let's talk about disengagement. This is how we take the wind out of their sails. Indifference to women, to intimate relationships with women and their cause. A lot of feminists purposely misinterpret the tenets of MGTOW in an effort to shame men into altering their course of action. They say that MGTOW hate women or that MGTOW are gay because they shun sexual encounters with women. This is the typical shaming language used by women meant to manipulate men. All women do this. My ex used to do this in order to get me to do things like fix the house or spend money we did not have. These false allegations should just stoke the fire in us to keep calm and move on. It is a clear indication that feminists are getting desperate. Just to clarify, MGTOWs don't necessarily shun sexual encounters. They shun encounters with dangerous women who are likely to cause problems. In the video Playing Victim, How Feminists Win Support for Unfair Policy, I explain how to minimize these risks. Indifference is actually feminists' worst fare. It is worse than hate because men can be anonymous and indifferent. Men can be anonymous and quit their wage-earning jobs. Men can be anonymous and pay lower taxes or pay no taxes at all. Men can be anonymous and move internationally and earn tax-free income. The tax revenue falls. If tax revenue falls, it would be a devastating blow to the public welfare programs that support the feminist agenda. Feminists' worst enemy are not the men attacking them. And an enemy of MGTOW is what makes the movement so devastating. Feminists can't respond because they do not have a target. Feminists need crazy men to attack women so that they can play victim and justify their cause. By being indifferent, by being anonymous, by being passive, we deprive feminists of public funding and a cause to fight behind. If MGTOW really goes mainstream, feminists will face a real existential dilemma. The feminist agenda is already starting to implode on itself. A lot of women are openly critical of feminists and their third wave agenda, like Lauren Southern, Brittany Deer, and Ali Wong, and many more. Self improvement, improving our lot in life. MGTOW is about men improving themselves. In the past 3 decades, married women have been empowered to enslave men to do more work than is necessary. Once they have been married for a long time, and especially when they have children, they think it is a license to be overbearing and naggy. When a man lives with a woman, his efforts are directed away from more important things like his career and self improvement. MGTOWs should compartmentalize their lives. For those who crave sexual encounters, they should include women only for that purpose and seal them off from the rest of their lives, especially the money aspect. See my video again, Playing a Victim, How Feminists Win Support for Unfair Policy. Start learning new skills like playing a new musical instrument or learning a new language. Start going to the gym and doing some weekly physical activity. Little steps will help you get on your way to greater financial independence and inner peace and happiness. Once I was independent again, I had to deal with self destructive behavior, and luckily, I had support from my family and friends to help me from point A to B. I have a video called Becoming Self Sufficient and Independent for more information on this. Anonymity. They can't hit what they cannot see. There was a YouTube user who criticized Sandman and TFM for remaining anonymous. Unfortunately, I forgot his name, but he stated that what he asked what these guys have to hide.
Thank you for watching.
What are they afraid of?
If you like
And
what you hear,
anonymity is
please
central
like,
to the
subscribe,
survivability
and
of the movement.
comment. And
Remaining
also
anonymous has
visit
little to do
my
with being afraid of
Patreon
poverty.
page,
Most of the
as
core
well
MGTOW philosophers
as
are anonymous,
my
and
GoFundMe
I'm
page.
thankful for that because
And if you'd like to donate, you can do that via
cannot be targeted or
PayPal.
taken down
I
by
also have a
militant
Bitcoin
feminists.
wallet.
Look what happens to MRAs when they
And
simply try to hold a
currently,
peaceful
those are the two
conference.
methods
It is
of
ridiculous.
donation.
Even men who are not involved in the men's
And
rights
if you have a
movement
special request,
are
you can
targeted by
message me, and
feminists
I'll
like
try
Linus
to answer
Torvalds.
you. And
Linus
also, you can hit
Torvalds
me up for
is the inventor
advice on how to be
Linux,
an independent MGTOW.
the Linux kernel. And a bunch of women planned to accuse him of sexual harassment because they felt that there weren't enough women in the upper echelons of the open source community. Stealthiness is a tactic used by MGTOWs to preserve energy and direct that energy towards spreading the message and converting more men. If we do not have to fend off angry feminists like Shanti Binks, we'd have much more energy and focus on important issues. Dealing with these women is such a waste of time and energy. It does nothing emancipation. Notice that most feminized nations are also the wealthiest. The United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, the UK, France, Germany. This is not a coincidence. Wealthy nations have enough surplus wealth to fund socialist programs that protect the feminist agenda. Other poor markets don't have this luxury, and women literally struggle to survive because these governments don't have the funds to waste on bullshit feminist agendas. MGTOW can strive in these countries that favor men more than women, especially if they carry Western credentials. This is not to say that MGTOWs must move from their home country. However, it would be to be emancipated, men need to start thinking outside the box and assess the reality about what is happening. If you work for a large corporation or government, you will likely encounter feminist bullshit, and it is bound to happen sooner or later. MGTOW should strive to be business owners so that they can take advantage of favorable tax provisions, thus lowering their tax liability. Also, consider traveling and working abroad, perhaps teaching English. I discuss more about this in the video Becoming Self Sufficient and Independent for more on this.